He will. He's done it again.
Quick conversations with King Drew Millions. Quick conversations with King Drew Millions. Quick conversations with King Drew Millions.
Quick conversations with King Drew Millions.
Let's chop it up.
Welcome, family. What's happening? This is another episode of Quick Conversation with King Drew Millions. It's your boy, Mr. Quick.
And I'm King Drew Millions, and this episode is brought to you by the Professional Brand, where we always keep it P, and the Hive, where visions get elevated.
Yes, sir. And we have another guest for you all, the beautiful Miss Maddie. You know what I'm saying? She is a licensed therapist specializing in cognitive behavior therapy. You know what I'm saying? So she do all the above, mental health. You know what I'm saying? So Miss Maddie, get the public a little something about you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, my name is Miss Maddie, and I do specialize in cognitive behavioral therapy, but also dialectical behavioral therapy. I'm certified in EMDR, and I currently work in private practice as well as juvenile probation.
Oh, okay.
And she worked for the DA's office.
At one point.
She was out.
At one point, I left. I left.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to say before we get started, thank you for coming on here. What a lot of people don't know that's been watching us. We on our second season, but you played a significant role in our first season because you were very supportive and you was behind the scene on almost every episode of our first season, and you gave a lot of feedback and a lot of advice. And now you've stepped in the camera with us, and so we're excited to have you and ready to get into it.
Yeah. I told y'all, man, we bring people from behind the scenes and front the scenes, you know what I'm saying? So here it is, live and in effect, you know, here she is.
Yeah, so
She helped me with a lot of them kids, y'all, I ain't gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? We bump heads sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? She more nurturing than me, but I be on the lesson side. It's a lesson that they need to learn. I'm just trying to give them a good game.
for sure. So look, where you from?
I'm from Hempstead, Texas.
Hempstead, Texas. How was it growing up out there?
Pretty slow, I would say.
Country?
Yeah, a lot of people call it the country.
So you wasn't in like no city. You was in like you was on land.
Yeah, definitely. People always say that like people rode horses to school, but that's not true. That's
Oh,
not
so that
true.
ain't true.
No, it is not true. People just had horses. They didn't ride them to school.
Okay.
What brought you to Houston?
I went to the University of Houston.
Okay, it wasn't PV.
Oh, so you didn't go to elementary, middle school, or high school out here in the city?
No, I'm a Waller High graduate.
Oh, shout out to
She
Wild
like
High.
you. She skipped that PV.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess you can call her honorary. Nah.
I was at PV when I was too young. That's
See?
all I gotta say. That's
Oh
all I gotta say.
Lord.
Oh, you was having fun then.
We had lots of fun. We're a college town.
Oh yeah.
Real talk. I spent a little bit of my time in Hempstead. Actually, when I was serving my probation, I actually got my probation moved to Waller because I caught my case when I was in college. So it switched from Harris County to Waller County. So I had the opportunity of moving around, doing my community service, cleaning up the graveyard and all that type of stuff. And it was a trip because, like, they had the black graveyard, then they had the white graveyard.
Oh, it was divided, like segregated.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. It was a trip, bro. It was like one of them surreal things. You could look at it and tell, like, oh, yeah, this was nice. And then you're like, oh, it's just a graveyard. For real. But I mean, like, I want to know, like, is it a major difference being, I don't know how you want me to say it, Anglo-Saxon, Caucasian, white, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, working with a lot of young black children.
So when
I say minorities because we're not on the service, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So when I grew up in Hempstead, I did grow up in a predominantly black area. Okay. So it wasn't a huge shift for me. I think the bigger shift for me working with kids that are from Houston is more like gang affiliated things and stuff like that, because in my hometown, we don't really have gangs like that. And if we do, it's a lot of older men that like, okay, they're wearing all the orange, they're bandanaed out. You know exactly who they are, and they're not afraid to say who they are. So when I was growing up, we didn't really have a gang issue. So working with kids out here, it's really opened my eyes because a lot of the gangs recruit young kids here and stuff like that. So it's very different. Like that's the very different part. Not necessarily working with the culture. I think, I come from a place of trying to understand. I might never be a part of it, but I try to understand. So that's not a big shift. But the gang stuff, it's life or death for a lot of these kids. So it's very different for me.
So your siblings, they weren't active or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Like in the streets and that.
No, I have an older brother that is 6 years older than me that did go to jail a few times, but his was drug related type of things.
Okay.
If you go anywhere in Waller County, drugs is a huge issue right now. We're getting like a real big uprising in meth and things like that. When I was younger, it was more like Xanax, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Syrup, that was all when I was growing up. But now when I talk to my siblings and stuff back home, they're all like, no, there's a lot of like pills that are cut with meth, things like that, a lot of ice. We've even gotten some, embalming fluid type of stuff going on now. But yeah, so my brother got into that, but he was able to, hire a really good lawyer and go to rehab and stuff. And so he was able to get probation, after he was done fighting his cases and stuff like that. But now he's good to go. And
Good deal. Is that part of the reason why you decided to go off into the field that you're working in?
So, ironically, I didn't plan on becoming a therapist. It was never really like in the plans. But when I look back, I can kind of see what certain things kind of led me there, if that makes sense. So I was never like, oh, I'm going to go be a therapist. But once it kind of got introduced to me, I realized it. So, my first time ever in therapy was actually when my parents divorced when I was really young. It was actually kind of a ploy for one parent to take the kids to therapy for the divorce.
How
court.
old were you when they divorced?
I was in third grade.
Okay, so you young.
Yeah, so my dad actually took me and all my siblings to like family therapy. And it was not, I don't think she was licensed or anything like that, if I'm being honest. And we only went a few times. So I think it was just to show the courts that, he was trying. And so we did that. I don't really remember much from her. But then moving forward, then my brother went to rehab, and my siblings are younger than me, 3 years. I have twin brothers that are 3 years younger than me, and then I have a sister that's 2 years.
Okay.
And so my brother went to jail. My mom kind of kept it from them. They didn't really know what was going on, but I was nosy, and so I knew a lot about things I shouldn't have known. So she did take me to the rehab. Like she took me up there, and I got to do family sessions. So that was my second time kind of being introduced to counselors. But it was for him. It wasn't really for me. And then fast forward, I moved to Houston. Back up. I did have an incident where I was with a guy and some stuff went down, and I did try to see a therapist then. I saw them one time and never went back because I was a teenager and didn't really feel the need to tell some old white lady with a cat my problems. So I went into UH.
But hold on, let me pause. It's funny that you feel that way because I know my culture feel that way. So
off the dribble, like we don't even think about therapy, counseling, or none of that.
The same answer you have is the same answers that we have, and you going to see your own people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can be very honest. I'm not as comfortable, especially with the older white women. My grandma is an older white woman, and I know she has different views than I do. She grew up in a different time than I did. So a lot of times when I was coming in with my experiences, they were very different. And, it was more, they were judging me a little bit more than helping me. So when I got into college, I actually went for my bachelor's degree in public health. I wanted to be in hospital administration. I wanted to get an MBA, be a businesswoman, that kind of stuff. And I got my public health degree. I graduated with my public health degree at 19. So I didn't want to go into the workforce because who wants to work at 19 full time? And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go get my master's.
So hold up. You got your bachelor's.
Yeah, I'm trying to process this. Yeah, I
did.
So you a bookworm, like.
No, surprisingly, everyone says that. Anytime I tell them, they're like, oh, you must be really smart. My little brother the other day told me, "Oh, you're really smart, Maddie. It comes naturally to you." I'm like, "No." What happened is that I do come from a privileged family, and my grandpa works in the oil field.
So you do have that privilege.
I do. And I use it to my ability, not only in situations in my life, but when I advocate for my kids. A lot of times they only listen to me. So what happened is after my brother had gotten into some trouble, my grandparents said they weren't going to pay for college anymore. So I had to go and kind of have a conversation with them and basically beg them to pay for my college.
Your brother got in trouble and they stopped paying for college for both of y'all.
Yes, because they believe that if they paid for the first one, the next one was supposed to make their way, right? So my brother was supposed to be paying for my college. It kind of was supposed to trickle down.
Oh, okay.
My mom had a lot of kids though, so I don't know how everybody was about to pay for everybody's college. But I went and I kind of showed my grandpa, hey, look, give me a chance, pay for 2 years. Just pay for 2. What he didn't realize is that after he agreed to that 2 years is I was going to get it done in 2. I wasn't paying a dime. So it was not that I was a bookworm. It was that money was on my mind, and I was not about to pay or take out any loans. So I doubled up. I did 4 classes in December as a mini-mester. I did 6 during a summer. So I went all the way through. I never had a college break. I never went back home during a college break. And if I did, I was doing online classes.
Wow.
So I finished in 2 years. I did take dual credit in high school. I had almost to be a sophomore by the time I went in. So yeah, that's kind of how I graduated in 2 years. It was not that I was super smart.
But to be honest, what you describing is not only just privilege. That's the art of hustle. Like you really capitalized off of opportunity, and that's not really. We're not just gonna put that on privilege. That's like anybody telling anyone, like, "Hey, I give you this in this amount of time, and the rest is on you." Yeah. You just looked at it like, "Bet."
I made it happen.
I
definitely commend you for that one.
I was not trying to pay no money at all. I was not. I didn't have no money to my name, so I was not trying to pay anything. But I was 19. I was like, I kind of hustled a little bit too quick because now I'm 19 and I'm trying to, I was doing things like trying to work at rehabs and stuff like that. And a man was looking at me telling me, how are you going to help me stop drinking when you can't even legally drink? I'm like, you're right. But I looked at him and said, hey, just because it ain't legal don't mean I'm not doing it. So, hey, I'm like, to each his own type of thing. So I was like, I'm going to go for my master's. And I had taken 1 class as an elective, and it was Intro to Social Work. And I got to find a nonprofit that I liked in that whole class and research them and go help them out. And there was this place called the Sunshine Kids. And it was actually for kids that had terminal illness, kind of like Make-A-Wish.
Okay.
And I got to research all about it. I got to do a visit. It was a lot of fun. And I didn't feel like I was working. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get my master's in that. So I applied. I actually got waitlisted. I'm not ashamed to say it now, but I was really, really hurt. And so I finally got off the wait list, and no shade on PV, but as soon as I got waitlisted, I did apply to PV and got in. So I could have been a PV baby after that. But their college isn't accredited for social work. So I started to learn a little bit more about social work then. If you're not an accredited school, then it's harder for you to take the licensing exam because they have to have an accredited school. So yeah, then I went in, and I actually didn't know you could be a therapist with a degree in social work. I went in thinking I wanted to work in nonprofits. Like, I want to go help kids with cancer. Who doesn't? Like, I went in, and on my first day, they're like, are you clinical or macro? And I'm like, what is what? What do you mean? Like, well, do you want to be a therapist, or do you want to go lobby in front of the president? I'm like, I don't want to do either. What are you talking about? And so I went with clinical because I like the brain, and I wanted to know more of why people do what they do. And then the rest kind of history. I started, and I finished that in 2 years, and I graduated in 2020.
So hold on, you got both your degrees in 4 years?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Nah, I ain't gonna lie. That you was like, okay, like how was your mental at that point? Like, how did you not break down? Like, what kept you going? Like,
well, I love what I do. So, I mean, my bachelor's was a lot harder to me than my master's. My bachelor's, I kind of, like, all they did was talk about STDs in public health and, like, the flu. those two things is like what I learned a lot about, is because it affects a lot of people, and that's what public health is about, is it affecting the masses. And so I realized, ironically, I went to something that was completely one-on-one. I was looking at masses of people and how to help people. And like, if I would have been in my public health degree when COVID hit, that would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Just because it affected so many people.
I was thinking that too.
But then I went into one-on-one, and it was completely new. So it wasn't hard necessarily to keep my mental right, I guess because I really enjoyed what I was reading and what I was writing about. You're going to hear me a lot that I relate things to my family. That's where I come from, my hometown. I'm very active. I go back home a lot. So a lot of my experiences come from that. So a lot of times you're going to hear me talk even today. It's not necessarily science-based. I always say it's Maddie-based. Like it's just what I've experienced, or
she got her own science and the way she thinks. I know personally. Yeah.
It's kind of just what I see work, and I haven't been fired as a therapist, yet. So I'm like, okay, hey, something's working.
Yeah, it's working. Huh?
Nah, for real. I mean, but even me and another coworker of ours got into a situation with a kid, and Maddie thought that we were improperly handling the child, right? And I had to literally, she's yelling in my ear, calm down, calm down. I say, Maddie, you calm down. We have this. Relax. And the entire time I'm talking the kid down, hey, relax, bro. You're not getting out this restraint. So chill. The more you move, the more I'm gonna tighten up. I'm gonna let you go once I know you've relaxed all the way. And then somehow, some way, I pulled out a juice box out of my pocket, and I done put it behind his neck and cooled him down, like completely changed the whole trajectory of what was going on. The kid was calm and everything, and then she looks back like, gee, you know what you're doing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I do think that, me and G go back to that a lot, because I think that was the first time that I was probably prepared to fight staff before they were able to calm that kid down. But I look back and I think it's because my view of like restraining or even holding somebody against their will was a lot more violent than what it actually is, and what I see now. And so in the moment, it almost put me in kind of that fight or flight type of moment, because I was like, wait, this is a child. You're supposed to protect a child. You're not supposed to, hold them against their will. I can remember getting them shots when I was younger, y'all, and they were holding me down. It was a traumatic experience.
So you're not a fan of what they call it? I'm gonna say whooping children, but corporal punishment.
I would say physical punishment. There's a different corporal. I think there could be some slight, changes to. So I am gonna preface that I was whooped as a child. I'm gonna say it right now.
That's a misconception that we have in our culture, that white people don't whoop their kids.
Oh no, I got whoopings.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely levels to this.
Levels.
It's definitely levels to it. You got spankings. First, it come to little thump.
That's a pop.
Little thump, you know what I mean? Spankings, pops. Then you got whoopings. Then you got ace whoopings. You got beatings and beat downs.
Yeah, see, I would categorize it differently. I would say when I was young, it's a pop. That's just a hit on the hand. And normally the stern voice is what scares, a little bit more. I would say spankings are open hand, and it was by hand. And then I would say whoopings is grabbing something. That's when something else plays a part in it.
Right.
Now that's just from my experiences. My parents didn't really use a lot of foul language, so they're not gonna say, that type of whooping. But to me, it was still the same. A lot of times when I talk to people about that, they're like, oh yeah, I got that too. I'm like, oh yeah, my mom just called them whoopings, or my dad just called them whoopings.
Okay.
So I would differentiate it a little bit that way.
So, okay, do you think that whoopings actually can help shape you as a person?
I think it depends on the learner. I think that it can do some damage. I also think it depends on, I've had conversations with people before where it's like, okay, I learned not to touch this or to do this because of a whooping, right? Or a spanking, or whatever you want to call it, right? I think that's very detrimental when it becomes like, I understand, but I'm still using physical punishment and not explaining the why. So I always say, like, for me, I would say if I'm gonna, pop my kid or give spankings, that's probably till 6 or 7, right? They can start to understand at 6 or 7. I can tell you why you shouldn't be doing something at 6 or 7. That's when I'm
Okay.
tapping in consequences. I'm taking things you
Okay.
like away from you. Because in the real world, when if you commit a crime, they don't whoop you. They don't give you physical punishment at all.
They used to.
But that's not
Because-
how it is in the U.S. Now you might be able to talk to somebody. My mom is from Singapore. She was raised in Singapore. They have where they will cut your hand off if you steal.
Right.
They
It's
still
very, very
doing that?
different. Still doing it, and
Wow.
they're still under a dictatorship. And if you ask my mom, she'll tell you she actually liked it better over there. She'll say that she liked that type of because everybody was afraid of the government that they didn't do
Right.
bad things. Right?
Right.
That's not how the U.S. is run. If you do a crime, what do you got to do? The time. So you popping your kid when they're doing things by the time they can start understanding is not preparing them for real life. If they steal a car, nobody's gonna take them out and give them an ass whooping. That's not gonna happen unless the cops choose to do it because
They
you're
might.
and unless they just decide to do it because they're a minority or things like that. But that's not what the judge does. The judge isn't like, all right, I'm gonna give you 20 butt whoopings and now you got it. That's not the way life works. And so if you're preparing your kid that way, I think that they're gonna have a really hard time as an adult because you have to deal with consequences of your actions, not physical punishment. I'm gonna be honest, at one point in my life, I would have been like, you know what, I can take it. Go ahead and whoop me a few times. I'm still gonna go back and do exactly what I did.
Yeah, see, I tried to take it because I ain't
Nah,
gonna lie, like my
he got
last,
A whoopings.
yeah, not for real. Like my
Beat.
last whooping was by like 13. 13. And before then, you know what I'm saying, like I try everything, wearing 2 pair of underwear, you know what I'm saying, squeeze my cheeks, you know what I'm saying, try to be as stiff as possible, you know what I'm saying. But then that would make it even worse because she like, oh, you ain't gonna break, I'm gonna make you break. And then once I started crying, like it's like, ugh.
But do you think it helped? Like, do you
Okay.
think it changed your decision making when you was doing something you wasn't supposed to?
Sometimes, because sometimes it made me do what I was doing better to not get caught. You know what I'm saying?
But do you think it's the whooping, or do you think not being fun? But do you think it? I don't want to say criminal minded, but because I mean, it kind of at that point you still doing what you want to do. You just don't want to get caught.
Okay, I'm gonna honestly say like the whoopings that I got from my dad, and I can count on one time on one hand how many times my dad whooped me. Right? It was a lecture that came with it, so there was an understanding as to why I got the whooping. You know what I'm saying? Like it was one time I went to the store. He sent me to the store, and at that time we can get like increments of the things we were purchasing. So he told me to get 50 cents worth of ham, 50 cents worth of cheese, get a loaf of bread, a couple bags of chips. You know what I mean? A couple drinks for us. I was like, all right, cool. So I walked to the store, and then I ended up spending the change on some candy. So he was like, "Where my change?" I was like, "What change?" He was like, "The change that you was supposed to bring back from the store." I was like, "Well, I got some candy." He's like, "But did you ask me for it?" I was like, "Nah, you sent me to the store. I thought it was okay." You know what I'm saying? He was like, "No, you didn't ask me for it, so therefore you stole from me." I'm like, "Nah, I ain't steal from you." You know what I'm saying? He was like, "Yeah." So go ahead and lay down. You know what I'm saying? Because had you asked me, I would have told you, yeah. And I was like, okay, all right, I get that part, but I ain't laying on no bed. So he just stole off from me. You know what I'm saying? So I understood why I got that one.
I
needless to
bet you
say,
did.
You know what I'm saying? But oftentimes, like my mother, on the other hand, she didn't necessarily have those lessons, but she would talk to me while she was whooping me. Didn't I tell you
That was
not
the lesson.
to? You know what I'm saying? But I couldn't hear the lesson because I'm in pain at that time. You know what I'm
Exactly,
saying?
yeah.
Like I couldn't put 2 and 2 together. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's like, okay, are you mad at me or are you mad at what I did? You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes, I ain't saying my mom did this, but oftentimes when whooping, you can bring external things into that situation. And you end up taking that out on the child. And I think that's where the beat downs come in at. You know what I'm saying? Because life beating you,
Yeah.
and now you have authority over me. so you gonna beat me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
become a punching bag.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know it's some families out there, some kids out there that's getting whoopings because mothers is mad at the daddies and you look like your daddy and I want to whoop on him. I can't whoop him, so I'm finna whoop you.
And you look just like him.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like, I'm kind of indifferent about it, but I do understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because in history, it was called flogging. And flogging was done in like the medieval times, right around the 5th century. You know what I'm saying? Like if you stole something, they'll put you out in public and you'll be walking in front of everyone and someone's actually giving you lashes while you walking in the public. You know what I'm saying? So it was like that was a lesson that came with it. So I'm hoping that the person would never steal again. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, we've, like you said, we've switched it up. You know what I'm saying? We're more therapeutic rather than punitive at the time. You know what I'm saying? And I hear that they supposed to be coming out with some new stuff where a person can like put on some type of vision goggles or something like that, and it'll be like a time lapse to where they've done the time and it's supposed to reprogram their mind.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an AI thing. Right. So you can end up putting these goggles on for like, I'll just give a number for like 30, 45 minutes and it'll feel like you've been in jail for a year.
And
That
then
is super
when
scary.
when you take them off, you don't remember, like it.
It's supposed to be reprogramming the criminal mind. You know what I'm saying? So you won't do the same things that you were doing before. I mean, it's like
That's
some
scary.
type of Jedi mind trick.
I'd
type
rather
stuff.
take that whooping.
That's
But
scary.
now I be trying to figure that out because I know I got another. I wasn't really more of a. I guess I was a class clown. Like that's really what I got in trouble most of the time. I
Yeah.
wasn't really more on the criminal side. Like I wasn't trying to rob, steal, or go fight and all that. But I'm gonna laugh, joke, play goofy. But of course in school or going around other adults when they trying to conduct business,
Right.
and I think that would got, and I did get whoopings for it, but I don't know. I mean, look at me now. We're doing a podcast. I'm
Right.
gonna talk and laugh, regard. But the older me, I'm like, even when I run into people, they like, man, they didn't predict that my life would be where it's at now because of how childish and goofy I was back then. To where they thought that I wasn't gonna be a productive adult in society. It was like I was that childish and goofy as a kid, to where they didn't believe that I could be a productive adult. But I got whooped. Sometimes my mama do the belt. Sometimes she'll punish me. Sometimes she'll take things away.
No racetracks.
Sometimes
no
she'll
phone
put them
calls,
hands
no-
on. I mean, switches, phone cords.
Yeah.
I mean, I done been through it all, but I still went back to being goofy and childish when I go to school. But then as I became an adult, like life started hitting and reality started sitting in. Like I got bills,
Right.
responsibilities, and jail ain't never been my thing. So I don't know. I just be wondering because I talk to my kids. I whooped one of my kids one time. I mean, I will say I whooped one of my kids one time and never had a problem out of this particular child again.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it worked. And she even told me.
See, okay, and this is a question I want to ask both of y'all, right? And you just kind of hit on it, right?
Mhm.
Is the father more of the converser and the mother is like the one that kind of stomped down as far as like discipline and understanding? I know in my household, my mother was more the disciplinarian, right? And if it got elevated to my father, it really meant something because he'll touch down in my soul. Like he could talk to me or look at me like with that look of disappointment.
I think that depends on the gender too. Like
Okay.
I think most like dads are not gonna whoop their daughters. Like that's normally a mom thing.
Okay.
And so I think boys kind of throw a loop in all of it because when it comes to young boys, moms will normally whoop them and so will dads. So they're normally getting a lot more of the physical, punishment than girls. So I would say I think it depends. I was also gonna say even in the severity, like I said, whoopings is anything, with something like grabbing a belt, grabbing a wooden spoon, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say is that a spanking from my mom and a spanking from my dad was very two different things. My dad was a 6'4", 300-something pound man, and my mom is like 5'6", 5'7", and weighs less than 200 pounds. So my mom open hand hitting me and my dad open hand hitting me is very two different things.
Right.
It also depends on, I think it depends on your severity, right? Like men can't, open hand use all their force. A woman, they might can, and it would just leave. Like I've had my mom's handprint on my behind before. Like I've been able to see it. It'll
Right.
whelp up, that kind of stuff. But after I get out the shower and stuff, it's not leaving a mark. My
Oh,
dad,
shit.
on the other hand, anything he did will leave a mark. So it kind of depend. My mom knew. I hate to say it, but my mom knew what not to do. Right. She was a teacher, so she knew like, okay, if she go to school looking like this,
Right.
something gonna go on.
Right.
Like, but I think it kind of it differs in households. Right. You looked at your dad and had that that respect. That's how I feel about my grandpa. I've never seen my grandpa mad. I've never seen him like he wouldn't even need to lay a hand on me. He could just look at me and I would probably melt because I would never want to be disappointed. I never want to be a disappointment to him. But so I think it's probably how your parents raise you. The
Well, I don't know. My mom had a look too, cause I remember cutting up in church in the choir. I'm playing around with my kinfolk in the choir. You know what I'm saying? And she'll look at me from the audience with this stern look, and then I just immediately stopped. And everybody like, man, what's up? Oh, bro, like, chill, bro. Like, nah, you know what I'm saying?
Mama looking at me.
Nah, for real. And then I think, like, my mom did some Jedi mind trick on me with this whooping stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, she could tell me that I was going to get a whooping in public and nobody would ever know that I was getting a whooping. She'll just say, we got a date.
Wait till we get home.
Yeah.
No, it was just we got a date. Like in the middle, and I changed my whole mood. I could be yeah, and we got a date. Oh man, I'm in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And I know you growing up, your daddy was more talker like my old man. Like both of them pretty laid back cats.
Yeah, that's what I was finna say. Like I don't know. I think it's a lot of different things that I start thinking about too, even when I'm dealing with people at work. So, like, I think as men, like, the wiser you get, it's kind of like what both of y'all kind of touched on too. Like, the wiser I get, I don't want to take advantage of people. And what I mean by that is, like, beating my children or whooping them or, putting my hands on them. I'm taking advantage of them. I really want to get into their mind and figure out why they doing what they doing and how can I prevent you from doing this again. Just simply going in there and whooping them for something they may not even understood the severity of their actions. So, and the only reason I whooped my one child at one time because I actually told her, I'm like, man, you keep getting in trouble in school. I don't want them. And this is what I told her. We made a deal. I say, hey, I don't care what you do up there no more. They just cannot come to my house or call my house. And that's life. I don't care what you do in the world. The older you get and the more things you get into, what you do outside this household is on you. I don't want no phone calls and I don't want no house visits. Figure that out. And I said, the next time you get in trouble, I'm going to whoop you. Well, that day came and she got in trouble, and I even called my wife, like, man, I really got to whoop her because I told her I was going to do it. Like, I got to stand on my word.
Yeah.
So I did it. Now, we both had that agreement that it didn't feel good with neither one of us. We looked at each other in the eyes.
So it was one of them, this going to hurt me more than it hurt you.
Man, it was, and we had that. We was there like, I don't feel good about it, and you don't feel good about it. Let's just figure out how we ain't got to cross this path again.
Yeah.
And we've been great ever since. But I also realized, anybody who think it's fun, like I think some people think it's fun to whoop. Like I can't wait to I don't feel that. Like you had them parents out
but look,
there.
bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like if I see a kid cutting up in the store, you know what I'm saying, I may say it in my mind like, man, they need to whoop your little old tutu. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And then when mama actually do, it's funny. I start laughing like, he gotta whoop
But see,
it.
this the maturity of the situation when you know your kids. Like some people, then you gotta look at the parent. I don't like that. I don't like to be embarrassed. I don't like to be acknowledged. Like I don't want to go in the grocery store, my kids running around and somebody looking at me. I don't like it.
Yeah.
So before I even get out the car, we having this conversation, especially if I know you that kid that's gonna, hey, we finna go in this store.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Don't touch nothing. Don't ask for nothing. I'm already letting you know the answer is no.
Like I learned, like, you know, recently with my promotion of being a supervisor, like I'm learning that the best leader is, hey, look, today this is the standard for today. This is what I expect out of you. And with what I expect out of you, this is what you can expect out of me. So when you have kids, you a leader, you a supervisor, like you running the show. So that's just what I've learned is I ain't got to whoop or put my hands on nobody if I'm telling them what the expectations is. I'm telling them how to move and giving them examples. Like one time when my son, he in college now, but when he's in high school, he got into a little jam at school and, you know, some situations happened. Hey, come get in the car with me. He's like, where we going? Just ride. And I drove him around Houston.
Mm-hmm.
One place I took him was downtown Houston. And parked in the middle of the freeway, pulled over to the side. That's jail. And that's U of H. Where you want to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's crazy because the people over there can look over here and the people over here can look over there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? At any point of your life, you could be on either side. You could go to U of H and then end up over here. You can go here and then end up over there, but it's your decision.
Yeah.
Then I drove him to the cemetery. Hey, this is not where we all gonna go here, but how soon do you want to be here?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, then I, you know, gave him speeches about other things tied to, you know, like it's people who parents are here and they in jail.
Right.
You go to jail, you don't get out just because your kids die, your mama died, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You go to jail, you here. You get that phone call, you crying, you sad, they may let you go visit your people at the funeral, but guess what? You're gonna show up to the funeral in handcuffs and chains. It's not fun. Some people rather just stay in jail. I ain't going to my mama's funeral in shackles. Some people, or daddy or whoever. So, and I've seen it. I witnessed it with my own eyes. You know what I'm saying? So these are the conversations I really be having.
But those are the conversations that count. That's the point I'm trying to get to. Mm-hmm. There was a lesson that came with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I want the public to kind of think of other things that you can do instead of using corporal punishment, because corporal punishment in private schools is still legal. Mm-hmm. Here, really in the United States, it's only maybe 4 or 5 states where it's illegal. You know what I'm saying? Public schools, I know I stopped getting pops maybe about 4th grade because we would sign the permission slip for the parents to, to actually get corporal punishment. The gym coach, she'll pop us, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the teachers had the authority to do the same thing, so I get it to a certain extent though. You know what I'm saying? Like you know the consequence of whatever you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. And you're gonna stop that behavior unless you want to deal with the consequence, right? Mm-hmm. But is there some type of way, because I do feel like sometimes whoopings can mess up with a person's like self-esteem and stuff like that. They end up being more timid. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. A person that could be a talkative person can end up being like a mute, like, oh, I mean, I ain't trying to say nothing because I don't want to get no whooping. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like what you was doing at school, right? Mm-hmm. You was cutting up, talkative, class clown. You know what I'm saying? That actually can change you as a person, being the fun-loving, you know what I'm saying, cool guy, you know what I'm saying, making everyone laugh. And now that's changed your whole characteristic as a person just because you don't want to get a whooping.
I think you got to know your like how she said a lot in her Because
Right.
she said that as well. You got the different households are different, and you have to know the person.
Right.
And because even like with me having 5 kids, I can't treat each child exactly the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to start learning that through the process. Like I can't sit here and tell every last one of y'all and give like it was a point of time where it was a standard in the whole house. So you
Right.
got 10 kids, it's just one standard. Like, no, I gotta figure out like each kid different, think different, want different things out of life. So, for the most part, they know what to expect out of me, but I can't hold all of them to the same standard when they all want different things. They
No,
got
facts.
different personalities. So, because I'm only saying that because I got whooped every time they
Right.
called my mama eyes on my daddy. But I went back the next day and was back clowning. I don't know. It was an addiction.
But
I guess.
how was it in your house? Because you were one of 5, correct?
I am one of 5.
So like, who got the most whoopings in the household?
Well, I would say, and I think this is traditionally like the person that gets the most whoopings is the one that has the most behaviors, which traditionally doesn't work. So, the one that doesn't have very much behaviors, you can whoop them or give them, a spanking, and they won't do it again because they don't want the pain. They don't want.
Right.
But the kids that do have behaviors, and I mean, unwanted behaviors like the goofing, like the laughing, or like even more violent behaviors type of thing. Normally giving them that corporal punishment or that spanking doesn't register in their brain because they don't understand the why. That's why it keeps going back to that why. If they don't understand, because you come home from joking and laughing and getting a whooping, you probably be like, dang, that whooping sucked, right? But you don't really understand why. Has there ever been a time where you got a whooping and you were just like, oh, my mama on one, or I don't really understand why. Like, I don't get why I got it. Or the other thing is it's subjective to families, right? A good example of this is like, I was taught that you take your shoes off before you go into people's house, right? You don't walk in with shoes. That's a sign of disrespect. Like I said, my mom grew up in Singapore, so a lot of like Asian cultures, they don't wear shoes in the house, right? So if I would have went into somebody else's house with shoes on and went home and my mom saw, she would give me a whooping, or she would tell me like, hey, that's not okay. But then you might never have that experience. So this is kind of how when G was talking about how it differentiates between kid or family or whoever, it's normally because that person has a different upbringing or different things. We don't have just like a one size fits all when it comes to punishing kids. Or I always say make the consequence logical. If it is not logical, then you're not, like, it doesn't matter. You can apply it to, I apply all of it when I'm talking to kids at my private practice or my full-time job. I always explain to them, like, what is the reasoning I'm telling them not to do something or why not to do it? Because Miss Maddie just saying, oh, don't do this because I don't like it isn't enough for them. That's not enough. They don't really care. Like, the other thing that I think whoopings or spankings contribute to is that, that talk, like, G kept saying, like, my dad can look at me and I feel I feel his disappointment, right? When you do strictly physical things, you're not tapping into that emotional side. So then when my kids are 16 and 17 and I'm getting them after they have done, some pretty terrible things in society, they don't have empathy. They don't care about other people's feelings because everything has been so physical that they're waiting. They actually prefer to be put downtown because that's a physical thing. Oh, you locked away and threw away the key. But if you look at them and you tell them, like, I always ask them, like, how would you feel if this happened? A lot of them can't even articulate it. They don't have that emotional intelligence because that's the only way they knew how to get consequences. So when that physical comes into place, they're okay. I see kids day in and day out lose friends, right, doing the exact same things they were doing. And I ask them, like, you're not crying? You're not upset, right? And they'll literally look at me and be like, Miss Maddie, that's how the world works. That physical, that's how the world works to them. So when I come in, they're always like, you don't know how many times I get kids telling me, Miss Maddie, why are you so nice? Why are you so nice? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm nice? I know how I feel, and I know what things make me feel. So I did have a lot more of those conversations. Now, if I got a whooping in the same time, like I would get the whooping and then, an hour later, my mom come and say, sit down. Now I need to tell you why you got the whooping, right? Or a lot of times it was the other way for me. My dad would give the physical punishment and my mom would have to do like recon, because she would be so upset or it would be a little bit too much force or things like that. So my mom would pull me aside afterwards to kind of talk to me or bring me back down and explain like, hey, your dad just got really upset. these kind of things happen. You can't do these things. You know, we don't want you to get hurt. That kind of stuff. So I think the bigger part about it is like, it's not that whoopings are quote unquote bad. It's what type of child do you have, right? I can safely say that there is nothing in this world that a whooping stop me from doing. I like
Right.
is that physical put in, and that I'm gonna preface that does not mean I didn't get whoopings that you're thinking just because of my skin color. That like I definitely grew up in an abusive household. My dad was the strong arm, you know, he was a cop, that kind of stuff. Like he went with, you know, I'm gonna teach you, right? I'm gonna teach you a lesson. But I was not the kid that worked for it. I was gonna, you know, turn around and try to figure out an easier way to do it. Or
But there's the preconceived notion that this generation is the way that they are because they didn't receive whooping. Because I know a lot of people in our generation was like, man, I ain't gonna whoop my kids. I ain't gonna whoop my kids. And this is
as a
product.
result of their parents. I mean,
Right.
but I can be 100% honest that a lot of my kids in private practice, I think that a lot. I'm like, man, like my mama wouldn't have let me talk to her that way, or
Right.
things like that. But that I think is gentle parenting to an extreme, right? I told you between that age from like 1 to 6 is a detrimental age where I think like whoopings are a big deal, right? It is because that's the only way they know how to learn. They're in the concrete stage of thinking. It's black or white. I either don't do it and I get a punishment, or I do it and it goes unnoticed. So that pop or that whooping or whatever you want to call it is a big part in that time because they only think concretely.
But I think the true balance that now that I'm thinking about it, that us three do have, and most of these kids unfortunately don't. We both had both parents in the house. You know what I'm saying? Because
Up until 3rd grade.
oh, okay, so you
Yeah,
didn't
my
the
mom
whole
lived
time.
my
Okay,
dad, yeah.
well, I'm only for me was it. I always say this. My dad came out when I was like 13 or 12, and that mattered the most.
Because we
That's-
started really
that's
cutting
just-
up around
but-
then.
I do know that at that point because it's a balance. That's what I'm getting to, the balance. Because
Why a lot of people say, I ain't gonna say people, a lot of women say, I don't need no man. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Oh, that's a topic for another day, G. You're gonna open up a can of
All right.
worms.
because you need I've been
About-
telling like you need that balance. Like
Right.
for instance, I knew certain things. It was a cloud of both. I knew certain things I can get away with my mom. I knew certain
Yeah.
things I get away with my dad, and I knew what I could not get away when they together. But it's certain things, like for instance, it's just something about, and I know my kids do that now. It's just something about my dad pulling in a driveway that made me uneasy about anything that I was doing that I shouldn't. Jumping on the bed, cursing in the house, anything that I'm doing.
yeah.
If I hear his call or I see him coming in the house, it's mentally, it just did something. And I've noticed that even with my own children, I would see how they talking and playing and acting around my wife. But then when I come around, it's a different level of respect. And, you know, and I notice it and I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? But it's the balance. And even with the woman, like, I think women are more emotional.
Yeah,
So
facts.
of course when they whooping you, their emotions and their feelings are tied to it. But I remember many conversations with my dad and all the men in my life. They was always sitting me down and talking to me about how to be a man, how to make better decisions, to where I'm still able to use that to this day. And it wasn't no physical, you know, I've had some pretty strong men, army. Most of the men in my family went to the army and grew up rough, but they wasn't punching on me and
No.
beating on me. They would sit me down, and these real like guys that I'm like, and they not yelling at me. They like, hey, this what you need to do, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, okay. But my mama be like, nah, I just told him the same thing. Why he ain't listening? And I'm like,
But see, what I think what I've gathered from each of us speaking, having actual conversations
mm,
for understanding
mm,
and clarity. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And there's
Yeah.
definitely power in your words.
Right,
right.
Because if you don't make me understand what I'm doing, I'm gonna continue to do it.
mm,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, and
Don't make it
oftentimes, especially with this generation, with these phones and these television is raising these kids instead of, you know what I'm saying, actually having a physical conversation with them.
Mhm.
Here, take this phone, be quiet, shut up.
You know what though? What I'm off that too. This generation, and me and you go back and forth on this. This generation is just smarter. Like for us, a lot of, for instance, go to the army or go be a police officer, be a why? Because you need a good job with benefits, and that's it. That's where it stopped.
Right.
But now I sit these kids down and I draw up a whole life plan. Hey, this is why you should go. And I'm writing down like 10 different things on the paper. I'm giving a whole layout. And they like, oh, okay.
But
because you can't just, right, because they not going with just like, we from a generation, if I said do it this way, and they from
Right.
like they're finally at a point where you just can't tell me to do something and that's what I'm gonna do. Tell
Right.
me when, what, why, how. Like they want a whole like, and honestly, I respect it.
Yeah.
Cause we like the generation before us leading up down to us, it was just that's because that's the way it is. You ask somebody something because I said so.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I was a why kid too. Maybe that's why I understand
No,
a
but
lot of
I mean,
these children, because I had to have the why. I needed to know why it happened. Why am I getting this? And if it wasn't right, maybe that is why I became a social worker. Then I'm gonna tell you it's not right, and I'm gonna fight for what is right. So it was all the way from when I was really little. You know, I want to know why. My dad wasn't somebody I could ask why to, so my mom was the one that I was like, okay, can you tell me why? Right?
Right.
I need to understand. When my mom left my dad, you know, she stopped whooping us. I didn't get a once she left him, she was like, all right, I'm gonna start talking to my kids, that kind of stuff. But my mom did, and I did let her know I was gonna say this on here. The one time my mom
hey, hold
did.
on, you might fall out with. No, I'm messing with
Hey,
you.
no, but she told me it was a pivotal point once I became an adult, because my mom told me that she was really upset in the moment, but she realized that she didn't have to worry about me as an adult after this. I was probably 10th grade, and my mom was going through some stuff, and she kept, you know, picking at me, kept getting me to do things. There was a lot of stuff that wasn't fair. And I don't even remember what she was getting on to me about, but I looked at her and I said, and you can bleep it out, I guess, if you're not supposed to say it, but I looked at my mom and I told her, my mama ain't raised no bitch, and you're not about to treat me like one. And
In
my
10th
mom
grade,
slapped
you told her
the
that.
crap out of
Wow.
me. She like pimp slapped me, like straight up. I had braces and it busted my lip. You know, I was down
wow.
bad. Yeah.
You do not to do that again.
Yeah, I did.
So that whooping.
Well, actually, I don't even think it was that I didn't know not to do that again. Honestly, it taught me, like, my mom, her biggest thing when I did anything was to stand on what I did. Because no consequence should be big enough for me to regret what I did. If I'm gonna do it, you better do it and take the consequence. So I said it and I got slapped. And afterwards, she didn't ask me if I meant it, because if she asked me, I would have said yes and probably got slapped again. But it was eye-opening for both of us. One, because I never thought my mom would lay her hands on me again. And then two, she told me, you know what? That's when I realized that you were going to be okay when you went to college. And I said, what do you mean? She was like, because if you won't let me do you wrong, I don't have to worry about anybody on this earth doing you wrong. 'Cause she knew how much I respected her. She knew, like, I had taken a lot of the stuff that I probably shouldn't have been taking from her, because I understood the circumstances. But once it became too much, I was done. I was like, you know what? You didn't raise me this way. You didn't.
Right.
You taught me not to accept that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to accept it. Not from you, not from anybody.
So what are some positive ways to like reinforce for like disciplined behaviors and like kind of redirecting the child? Like, I mean, other than conversing, you know what I'm saying? We understand that part at this point.
Logical consequences. So I can give you the example. Like, I snuck out when I was like 15.
Okay.
My mom caught me, right? And ironically, she didn't catch me actually sneaking out. She just had a feeling. And to this day, she still didn't know I did it, but she gave me a consequence for it because she just knew it in her soul. And she took my door off my hinges to my door.
Okay.
It was she didn't take my phone. Like most parents are gonna take the phone. They're gonna take the car. They're gonna nope.
Okay,
She said,
okay.
okay, you get to keep all that, but I'm taking the door because you went somewhere in my house without me knowing, and I cannot trust this. I cannot trust you anymore. So I'm taking the door.
Now, we know a lot of these kids smoke, right? So what's a logical punishment for a kid that's smoking? You don't want them to smoke or something like that.
I would probably do something like, these kids got like Cash App cards and stuff like that. So I would police that. You know, if I'm not watching where your money's coming from, well, now I am, because you sending it to the grape emoji Chris, whoever the heck you selling it to.
Right.
You know, now I know that's where you're getting it from, I would do something like that.
Okay.
I would also like try to really understand why the kid is doing it. Most kids are not. I mean, is it a friend thing? Is it when you're around your friends? And if it is around your friends, are we more impressionable around our friends? Now, my mom, like I said, I was raised in a really strict household, but once it came to me making decisions like that, my mom wanted me to teach her or tell her why I wanted to do it. And if I could give a good enough reason, she gonna let me do it. My mom was training me to be an adult real young. Like, first job was at 15, so I started making money. In good amounts of money. Like, I worked as a lifeguard making $800 every 2 weeks. That's a lot for a 15-year-old to be making. Like, and so she was like, all right, the moment that you can't afford something or need to ask me for something, then that's going to be a problem where I go into your finances. That's where I want to know what's going on, what you're doing. So I think it depends. Like, I can understand, though, because that's moral type of thing. You know, if somebody doesn't want their kid to smoke or, you know, it does reduce some of the brain activity and stuff like that. So I can understand why. I think it just depends on but you're preparing for those things at a very young age. If your kid, like, if you feel that strongly and passionate about kids smoking weed or doing whatever, then your kid should know that by the age of 5, 6. Like, this is not an era where you're going to say, my dad used to tell me this all the time, do as I say, not as I do. That is not this generation. If you're doing it, you are now a hypocrite, and they're going to show you that you're a hypocrite.
Yep.
So, you know, those are those values. You know, a lot of the parents that I work with in my private practice that do smoke weed, you know, they let their kids know, you know, in the very beginning, like, yeah, I do this, but I didn't start doing it until this age. Like, I don't want you to do it while you're in high school because this, and this. Like, and a lot of their kids respect
giving them the reason why.
The kids respect it.
Understanding that logic behind it.
They understand it. It's kind of like that taboo thing behind it is like, oh, I know my parents don't want me to do it, so let me do it. You know, like, it kind of takes away that mask, right? And I like I said, I actually have a household that I'm working with right now that the parents are very young. They're in their 30s. And I have to keep telling them, stop being so afraid of, like, messing up, or, you know, the dad will raise his voice and he gets nervous because he's like, well, wait, I was raised this way and I didn't like it. I'm like, okay, see what your kid, like, what is your kid responding to, right? It's never like you're going to know, you know, especially when you're, like I said, I'm one of 5. I knew, like, okay, hey, my mom could do this, my dad could do this. I was a respect person. Growing up, I didn't respect my dad as much. I had a lot of issues with the way he carried himself and stuff like that. So my mom could do the punishment. It was different for my brothers. It was different. Like, it's different, but your kid is going to show you what they need, right? They might need the more nurturing part. They might need more, you know, no, I need things taken away from me, right? It really depends on your kid. It depends. And if you think about yourself, you'll know, too, as an adult, how do you give yourself corporal punishment as an adult? You're not spanking yourself. You're taking things away or doing certain things when you know that you go down a lifestyle that's not the one you want to be in, right? Like, you know, you might be gaining weight.
With yourself.
You might be gaining weight, or you might be, you know, participating in recreational things that you shouldn't be. You might be messing with the man you're not supposed to be with. Like, those type of things. You're not.
Ooh,
you're not turning around like whooping yourself. Like, and if you do, like, and if I'm being honest, if you turn around and you do try to give yourself that corporal punishment that your parents are doing, is normally really negative things, like bad self-esteem, like doing things, like talking to yourself real bad, participating in drugs and alcohol, things that you shouldn't be doing, sleeping with people you shouldn't be sleeping with. Like, when you think about the negative effects, if you do really, like, on the adult side, translate to what you got done as a kid, it's normally bad outcomes. Does that make sense? Like, it's like you don't want to turn around and look at it as, you know, I've been through therapy a lot, so I turn around, I'm like, dang, I'm doing this because, you know, my dad did this, or this is how he taught me how to do, and I have to retrain my brain where I'm like, wait. If you do this, you know, your only way of coping is this way, right? It's destruction, or it's these things, right? So you want to prepare your kid to know, like, that self-control, how like, we all do things, we probably, half the time, you're driving home and shouldn't stop and eat where you are going to eat, right? I always tell myself, like, I'll do things like turn off my card or things like that. That's a logical consequence. That's how, like, you don't turn around and say, okay, hey, I ate, so I'm just going to not buy the shirt. Like, you still buy the shirt because it doesn't equate to you wanting to, unless you think that the shirt equates to you losing weight, right? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you want to do a logical consequence, right? If drinking is too much,
you're bringing up some
you might
points.
I think it's just the way I look at things is like,
I mean, but that's why I asked you to come on the show to kind of broaden the awareness of other individuals that think that this is the only way. This is the
Yeah.
only way. You know what I'm saying? And I know we can continue this conversation for a whole nother hour, but I just want to close us out and ask you, is there anything that you would like for the public to get out of this conversation and carry with them?
I would say just listen to behavior. Like listen to what your kid is trying to show you, even if they're not talking. Like you'll see in their behaviors, you'll see in their moods, how they interact around people, how they
Yeah.
interact around each other. Just listen to it, see what they need, and then give them what they need. If that doesn't work, then you can try alternatives. Most time, if you're just listening, you're gonna get better outcomes.
Get to know your kid. Drew, anything you want to add to that?
Nah, I mean, I don't even know how to back that up, man. She,
Nah, for real. I mean,
I would say I agree with everything she said. She's speaking the truth. Like when my kids ask for tattoos and stuff, I don't tell them. It's never a no. It's always like a rule in my house at this point is because I don't have no tattoos. My wife do, so I can't say y'all can't get tattoos.
Right.
But the reason why I never got tattoos, even when I want them, because my parents didn't have them. So it was just like, we don't have them, you don't get them. It was just always a no. And
Right.
so now my thing is, at least get to your senior year,
Yeah.
last semester.
Yeah.
I know you graduating
Yeah.
and you know what college you going to.
Okay.
Tat it up. You know what I'm saying? That's the stand. That's what,
But you're
that,
giving them the reason why.
right. I tell them, you're not going to be in my house while I'm paying all the bills and you going out here spending your money on drugs, tattoos. No, that's something you do when you graduate and you out in college, or you got something going on in your life, or you can pay for it yourself. Don't be using my money and my resources to go out here and do personal things of that nature because you represent me. So I guess, I mean, my ultimate thing, like what she said, lead by example.
Okay.
You know, if you want your children to be a certain way or act a certain way, and if you don't want your children to be in and out of jail, you don't want your children to be in and out of trouble, you don't want them to be disrespectful, then you can't be showing them how to be disrespectful to people. Oh, did y'all see? It was on YouTube. Real quick, it was a video that I seen on YouTube or Instagram with like 3 little boys in the store. They was trying to steal allegedly or whatever. That's kind of, a lot of people in the comments was saying you could tell how their parents or the people that's raising them acting by their responses, because they wasn't no more than like 10 years old,
Right.
and they was talking. And it was funny because we know some people growing up that acted just like they mamas.
Right.
They was raised mostly probably by women
Right.
and they mamas, and they act.
You
But
can hear it in his voice. He sound like his mama.
but to go off what Maddie said, that's the mirror. That's the mirror of, this is how you talking around them. This is how you acting around them. So
reflection of you.
now their mannerism and their actions is of you, and now they on worldwide web acting like you as a little kid, know. So be a better example, be a better leader, and
And even if you do lead by example, you do got those strays, you know, that don't follow and are kind of outside the box. Most of them do probably suffer from some type of mental health challenge. So get them in a therapist pretty early so they can kind of understand why their brain isn't working the same way everybody else's is.
I'm gonna say, talk to your kids, learn their behaviors, learn their mannerisms, learn what ticks them off and what makes them tick. You know what I mean? Because, like you said earlier, the world is not going to whoop you, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you do something at your job, they're going to write you up or they're going to fire you. But they're going to explain to you why you getting this write-up or why you getting fired. So we have to get out of the mental mentality of saying, because I said so. You know what I'm saying? Because it's more to it than that. And I think once we get to that, and because I'm an adult, this is what you know what I mean? Like, once we get out of that, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? So once we get that better understanding, regardless if that person is a child or not, they still want to have the same respect as you as an adult. So, I mean, I think this was a great conversation. Maddie, we're going to have you come back on here again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And this has been another episode of Quick Conversation with King Drew Millions. It's your boy, Mr. Quick.
And I'm King Drew Millions.
And we out. We chopped it up.